believe I'm streaming. Go ahead and refresh over here. There we go. Yes. Success. Great success. I am streaming. What is up, guys? What is up? Alright, let me just get some stuff set up here. As you can see, we have a game pulled up. We're going to be doing Dawn of Man. If you have not played it, I would highly recommend it. You'll see why here shortly. I'm just going to wait a few minutes, let some people get in if they would like to, and then we'll get this show on the road. It's an interesting expression. Show on the road. So, how's everyone been? In the meantime, while I'm waiting for that, if you have not done so already, please hit the little like button, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate that. I'm hoping that we can get to 69 subscribers by episode 69. That'd be kind of awesome and nice. Midget B says this better be good. Way to have confidence in your co-host there, Midget. I appreciate it. No, it'll be good though. What I plan on doing, and I know I've told you, Midget, but what I plan on doing is playing a little bit of Dawn of Man and answering. I was talking about kind of anarchist philosophy and answering any questions, of course, because during the normal show on Tuesdays, we don't really have time to kind of delve into these topics, and we end up getting lost in the weeds, stuff like that. So what I wanted to do was kind of do like more long form thing where I can just talk and not have to worry about any kind of time restraint or anybody else being around. So yeah, that's what we're planning on doing today. Let's go ahead and see. I'm gonna go ahead and choose my little scenario. I think I'm gonna do Flatlands. Let's do Flatlands with Raiders. Or settlement name, naturally, as this is the Dawn of Ancapistan series. We're going to call it Ancapistan. Alright. No, let's do, Flatlands. Alright. Let's get started, I suppose. It's been 2 minutes. Let's see what we got here. There we go. Just loading forever. Here we go. Alright, let's check out what we got. Looks like we got a whole lot of lake, and a whole lot of nothing else, really. Looks like kind of a bad spot. So we got some ore over here for the future. We should probably move our guys. No, by the time we need ore, we'll be able to travel over there pretty easily. Kind of want to stick by the water. Water's a great, that's a life giver, as it were. Kind of need it. Kind of don't need ore as much as you need water. Thinking about right around here. You can always expand towards the lake. So I think that's a good idea. Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and place our little tents right along here. Then 3 would be, what, 9? Let's do 4. Place a little hearth here and here. We'll let them get on with it. Got animals and defense. Alright. Alright, so I'll start talking in just a minute. I want to make sure I get set up here. Gathering sticks. Gathering flint. Gathering fish. Alright, that should be good for now. Some stone too. Alright, hey Highleaf. What is up, Brad? Alright. So now I guess we can start talking a little bit. So can you give one good example of an anarchist society working? I sure can. I think a really good because it's more modern day, although ancient Ireland lasting for about 2,000 years in a stateless society is a really good one, especially because you can't name a government that's lasted 2,000 years. Um, but I think Cosplay is a much better example. It's more modern, not quite modern, but more modern, and it lasted for about 400 years. It was actually created due to a surveyor's mistake, um, which made that small area, I believe, of Italy, just under no one's jurisdiction, and it just stayed like that for 400 years until they eventually opted to come back into society. I guess society at large. So that worked pretty well. And yeah, they eventually opted into, statism. But I'm not sure exactly what the events that led up to that were. But to deny that that worked is pretty ridiculous because it worked for 400 years and worked pretty well. So, so yes, I can. But yeah, so that's probably the best one. Oh, here we go. Okay, got stone. Um, yeah, that's probably the best one out there. If you need me to spell it so you can look it up, it's Cospia. Yeah, Cospia or Pai. God damn it! Now I don't know. Let me look it up here. Now I got me second guessing myself. Oh, it's AIA. Cospaia. Republic of Cospaya. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly either. But yeah, it's within Umbria. But I also want to mention, if you're like, oh, it's only 400 years, what a state will always eventually form. And that may or may not be true. But the point is, though, that it did work, and also the average lifespan of a state is about 250 years. So it went a bit beyond that, which I think is to its credit, of course. All right, do I have any? I don't need to go hunting. Okay. I need a crafter over here. All right, so we need to hunt something. Let's do this. Get some of that. Uh, so what are we doing here? You finna drop some knowledge on us? Yeah, man. I mean, I just did a little bit. So yeah. So we can start from the beginning with. I think it's obviously the beginning is a great place to start when it comes to any kind of philosophy and anarchy specifically. At least the flavor of anarchy that I subscribe to, all comes down to property rights. It comes down to the idea that you own your own body, right? That no one has a greater moral claim over your body than you do, and then it just goes outward from there. Um, so it goes outward from there. So if you own your own body, it stands to reason that you own the things that your body produces. So whatever you produce, you also own. So if you work land that was previously unoccupied, then that land is your property. And then whatever you build on that property is also yours because you built it, it's your body. Now, of course, you can always use money as a medium, right? Money being a store of value, or trade goods to have someone else build it and understand that it is in fact your property and not theirs. So of course there's ways around that, but the very foundation is the idea that you own your own body and no one has a better moral claim over it than you do. Which of course immediately excludes any kind of state, right? Because the state claims that they have a higher moral value, a moral claim to your body, which is of course why state's existence is already a violation of property rights. So, any questions so far on that? I don't want to move on too fast and not answer something, but that's where it really starts. So let's see. All right, so we got our little guys set up so far. I'm just waiting on make sure there's nothing else before I move on. Just gotta get that one more. Go ahead and hunt you, Megalosaurus, adult female. All right, nothing else. Going down. You have not escaped. That is horseshit. All right. So with that, I guess we will. Let's move on to the next thing. Um, so yes, the state, its existence is a violation of your rights, of course. I do like what Murray Rothbard has to say about the state and one of the greatest books of all time, The Anatomy of the State, um, where he says the state is basically just a group of bandits who have settled among the conquered, and are slowly pillaging them over time, as opposed to just plundering and pillaging immediately and leaving it behind. They figured out that they can just remain among the conquered and get more plunder over time and in a more peaceful way by instead of conquering them over and over again, just having them pay their dues every year or so, whatever the amount was, whatever the how often it was, which I would agree with. I would agree that that is in fact what a state is and how a state operates. Almost like it's in the modern day you would compare them to like the mafia. Um, that they claim a territory and then rule over it, and if you step on their way, they will remove you in one way or another. Are there any objections to that, perhaps? I mean, the only difference, of course, being that the state has tricked you into believing that it's legitimate and that the mafia is not. When they're really just the same thing, they're just competition for the state. So, of course, that can't be allowed. Let's go manage our limits here. Infinite meats, infinite fishes. 100% of that. Cheese. Gotta have water and beer. Yeah. An amount of trees, do 25 flint, 50 rocks, infinite bones. Alright, I'll get back to it in just a moment here. I just want to set these up so I don't have to think about them again. Oh, fuck. Can't believe I've done this. There we go. Infinite, 25, 25. I'm just setting limits right now. That if they reach those limits, obviously, then they won't be gathering any more of those. So as to not waste time and effort when they're not needed. Plus, you have limited storage in the game, so I don't really want to overdo that. Last thing. Alright, cool. Now we can get back to it. Alright, so let's see. Let's talk about the NAP, the non-aggression principle. I think that's another good place to start. That's a foundational principle. Um, so there's a lot of misunderstandings about the NAP, and that seems like a lot of people think that you can't do anything. You can't like have any kind of violent response. Now I know that a lot of people here will know better, but there's some for some reason this idea that like you can't intervene to help somebody because the non-aggression principle will not let you do that. Oh, hey, Katie Zed, what's up? Yes, come join us. We're creating civilization, and we are learning about anarchy. So you should come hang out. That'll be awesome. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll be happy to answer them. We were just talking about the non-aggression principle and how it's misunderstood quite a bit. Uh, in that it seems like some people, not everyone, of course, believe that if you, as Katie said, you chooses violence regularly. Yeah, that's the thing is that if it's not aggressive violence, then it's perfectly justified. It's when you commit violence unprovoked that it's not, and that someone is just in committing violence against you at that point. It's basically, libertarianism. It's funny in general, anarchy included in that is just like the golden rule, right? Treat others how you would like to be treated. You don't want your stuff stolen, so don't steal other people's stuff. You don't want to be hurt, so don't hurt other people. Um, it really is quite a simple philosophy when it's boiled down to that. It's the kind of the praxis, the how, that kind of trips a lot of people up. And then, of course, you have people who are either intellectually or otherwise lazy, and that they're just like, well, no, I don't want to do that. I don't like my political opponents, so I'm just going to go ahead and want to murder them. Which, of course, makes you just like they would be. So it's not a good thing necessarily. You have to actually do something wrong before you can do that. So let's see. Yeah, like I said, Katie, if there's any questions, please let me know, and I'll be happy to answer. Um, let's see. So we talked kind of about a bit about the non-aggression principle. Let's talk a little bit more about it though, because there's also another misconception that it's some kind of like grand end all be all of libertarianism or anarchy or whatever. Uh, that's not the case at all. It's kind of just a guiding principle. It's not like a law or a rule. It's like, oh, you violated the NAP, like you're not a real libertarian or whatever. It's just kind of a guide on when is it acceptable to initiate violence on somebody. That's it. It's just like a moral code. Um, so it's not really, it's not some kind of law of the land or anything ridiculous like that. Oh, here we go. I got another thing. Mm, slings hunt more effectively. All right. Um, let's see. What do we want to move? Oh, Katie's Edge says she's more of an authoritarian. Authoritarian libertarianism is the reason we now have kid drag shows. I don't think that's necessarily true. I don't think it was libertarianism that did that. I mean, if you want to expand on that, that'd be fine. Um, I'm pretty sure it's authoritarianism though that brought that to you, and the fact that like you have to be okay with it in society, otherwise you're a horrible person. That's much more authoritarian than anything that I would talk about. I don't think it's libertarianism that did that. It's entirely collectivist ideology that brought that kind of thing about. Mainly left authoritarianism, but it's all authoritarianism at the end of the day. Lack of authority is not a great thing. Um, so why would you say that? Why would you think that? Is that if you can expand on that a little bit, that would be good. Um, because my guess is so I don't want to guess. I don't want to guess. But yeah. So basically, since you missed the beginning, I can kind of reiterate in that I'm sure as someone on the right wing, Katie said you believe in property rights. I think I'm correct on that. Uh, so what I'm talking about is the ultimate in property rights. Sorry, it's the ultimate in property rights. So what I'm saying is that the individual has the highest moral claim over their own body, and then it extends outwards to the rest of property. Right, whatever you create yourself, using your body, whatever you do, you have the highest moral claim of your body, and anyone who claims otherwise is first of all wrong, but also basically, I mean, that's violence. I mean, they can claim it, but if they do anything about it, you are, perfectly justified to stop them from doing that. Um, it's why consent is important. It's why rape is a moral bad. It's why imprisonment is a moral bad. Um, because you have the ultimate claim over your own body. Do you disagree with anything with that? I'll go ahead and I'll just wait a moment. Build some more little hooses over here. Give you some time to answer. Oh, shite. It's turning to fall. Not sure I'm ready to take on Mammoth yet, but I can probably take on one of these boys. Let's go ahead and take on the Woolly Rhino. God is the ultimate authority. Okay. So when I say that, I mean I'm talking about on Earth, right? We're talking about humans, right? So we're not talking about God in this instance. We're talking about people. So what I mean is like so even within the framework of Christianity, I'm talking about humans have the ultimate moral claim over their own bodies while they're on Earth, right? What happens after death is whatever happens. But I'm just talking about purely on Earth. Some dogs. Gotta go. Okay, yeah, no problem at all, Katie said. We'll see you later. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. But yeah, so that's the main thing, right? Whenever someone tries to, especially someone tried to basically say why the state is necessary, they're not arguing that the state is not immoral because they know it is. It's just that they might think it's necessary for whatever reason they might have whatever shortcomings are in others. They want to assert a moral claim over someone else's body. It's basically telling them what they can and cannot do, which of course I would completely disagree with, excepting of course if someone's violating someone else's rights, right? Because when you violate someone else's rights, to a certain extent, you forfeit your own, depending on the situation, right? If you steal something from someone, I feel like you take, I don't know, you take a pen from someone's house, right? Like you don't get to just shoot them for that and be morally justified. But the basic, yeah, that's the basic thing though, is that as soon as you violate someone else's rights, you uh, forfeit your own, and you're pretty much fucked. As for how that could work in an anarchist society, because I know that would be a question, of course, is that there's several different ways without like an actual imprisonment. Now you can be justified in imprisoning them for a short time after, so let's say a murder or something like that, to do some sort of investigation, make sure that it actually was them. Once that's done, banishment is an excellent way. It was done for centuries, probably longer than that, thousands of years. Ostracization. Um, since we are a social species, that has a huge effect on people, and just the fear of that is enough to keep most people in line. I mean, most people are socially pressured anyway, all the time, right? You adhere to certain norms based on the groups that you're in. So I do think that that's a really good way of going about it, especially if, say, that there's another community that they're trying to go to since they can't come into yours anymore. Um, word of that spreads, and people in general don't like people who have killed other people unjustly. So, I mean, the chances of someone wanting to do business with that person is pretty slim, unless, of course, they haven't heard for whatever reason. But I mean, there's other ways of letting people know that this has happened. I don't have any kind of specifics or anything, but I mean, there are definitely ways that can be worked around. That's just one. That's just one option. There's, of course, retribution from the victim's family, and things like that. So there are definitely ways to go around it without throwing someone in a cage for 25, 30 years, right? And having them just die of a natural cause in a cage. Um, it's far more effective, I think, and far less costly to not imprison them. No, I mean, there's, like I said, there's times when you can do it for a short amount of time. It can be justified because, like I said, when you violated someone else's rights, you forfeit your own. But that's not forever. Right? You can't justify violating someone's rights forever, unless, of course, it's a defense or something like that, and you have to end up taking their life. That would be the last time that you would violate their rights, though, I suppose. So let's see. I need one more. That'll happen shortly here. All right. Let's see if there's anything else over here. All right. So we've talked about the idea of property rights. We've talked about oh shit, trader. Anything? If I can get some of these, that would be good. Cool. All right. So we talked about NAP. We've talked about property rights a little bit. I kind of want to go into even more depth into some of these. Um, let's see what else is there we can even discuss. Yeah, like I said, if anyone has any questions, let me know. That would actually help out a lot. I didn't really come up with like a timeline or anything like a, hey, let's do this and let's. I don't know. I didn't come up with any kind of bullet points or anything for what to talk about, so I'm just kind of doing that on the fly here. weapons. I don't want to do that. Let's see. You know what? I think we can go after a mammoth. You guys want to see me go after a mammoth? Fuck that mammoth up. Watch this shit. Sneak up on his ass pop. Guys, go! Yeah! Took him down. Alright, excellent. Alright. So yeah, okay, so here's another good one. Let's talk about some of the misconceptions of anarchy, right? Anytime, and I've gotten to a lot of these arguments, like on Twitter or on the show, or in person, um, that anytime you bring it up, it's really interesting. Let me start here. It's really interesting that like people will bitch all day and night about how awful the state is, right? About how just terrible it is, how um, how much it fucks them over, how much they just absolutely can't stand it. Until you suggest maybe we should get rid of it, and then that's when the bootlicker comes out, and they're just like, no, we need the state for X, Y, and Z reasons, all of which the state generally does to them already. It's just kind of, I guess, the evil that you know as opposed to the evil that you don't. People are much more comfortable with the evil that they know, so people are much less likely to be willing to take that dive into the dark. And that's kind of the problem. Is that with anarchist philosophy, it doesn't really tell you how you should live for the most part. It's not trying to like prescribe a certain set of you know rules for how society should operate. It makes moral claims and backs those moral claims up with more philosophy, with whether it be history, anything really, psychology, whatever it is, right? And most political ideologies don't. What they generally do is they try to say this is how society should function. Whereas anarchy says, well, that's up to you. It's just here are the morals to guide you, and you kind of choose your own adventure after that. Choose your own path. Um, that's why there's so many different flavors of anarchy, right? There's anarcho-communist, anarcho-capitalist, right? There's agorists, anarcho-primitivists. There's um, all kinds of different anarchists out there. And the thing is, most of them, at least the ones who are like philosophically consistent, are legitimate anarchists, right? Like a anarcho-communist is a legitimate anarchist. Um, it's just like I don't know. I kind of disagree with some of their points or whatever, but I mean they are legitimate anarchists. Because again, it's not telling you how society should operate. It's just telling you what you just said, Keklamel. It's not really telling you how you should operate anarcho. What's wrong with anarcho? I don't know. Anyway, it's not really telling you, like I said, how you should operate society. It's just telling you, here are the guidelines, right? Here are the morals that are believed, and go with that. So whenever someone asks these questions, which invariably happen, how do you do this in an anarchist society? How do you do that? Um, the reason why it's so difficult to answer is because it's not up to me. Anarcho-communists, dude, they are. I mean, I know I hate to admit it. It was not an easy thing to do, um, but it is true. Read the bread book, man. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, you should, but uh, Yeah, the bread book is if you guys, for anyone who doesn't know, it's The Conquest of Bread by Peter Kropotkin. Um, I mean, there's some things in there that I agreed with. It was mostly about the self sufficiency parts of it, and less about the rest of it. Um, but I mean, it's about forming a voluntary community, right, where resources are shared. And if you want to live there, and they want you to live by those rules, well, if you want to live in that area, then you abide by those rules. If you don't, you can move to one that you know has more of your values. It's all about decentralization. All anarchists want decentralization as all the way down. Probably NCOMs would stop at the community. Um, Agorists would stop, and ANCAPs would stop at the individual. I think ANCAPs wouldn't stop at the individual necessarily, but an agorist such as myself would stop at the individual. So if the individual wants to live on their own and not have any kind of uh, communication with like any other people, they're perfectly free to do so. Right? All associations should be voluntary. That goes back to property rights, right? It goes back to we talked about this before about consent, right? This is why anarchists are the ultimate defenders of consent. Shit, cave lion, bruh. Um, dude, what are you doing? I can help this guy. Oh man, I might lose somebody. All right, excellent. Oh no, dude. I hope you don't have an infection. Another cave lion attack? Holy shit! All right, sorry about that. I had to deal with a little lion situation. It's perilous out here in Ancapistan, you guys. It's pretty ridiculous. Holy shit, another one. It's a whole pack of them. That one's almost dead. Nice. Okay, cool. So we're gonna have a shitload of food. Alright, so I'm gonna relax on that a bit. Um, alright, so what were we talking about? We're talking about anarchists being the ultimate in defenders of consent. I think it's pretty awesome. Yeah, voluntary association. That's the main thing, right? Anarchists are accused often of, and I get why, but they're accused often of kind of just creating society again, right? Working their way from no government to like creating a government again. Holy shit, dude! These guys are after me. Fucking hyenas now. Who are these guys? More cave lions? Jesus. Um, Dog has been killed. So is some girl, and someone else died of the infection I was talking about. Sorry, we still got enough people. We got plenty of food now, though. Um, okay, so yeah, they're often anarchists are often accused. Oh my god, stop it! Holy shit, lions everywhere and shit. Um, okay, yeah, so anarchists are accused of kind of creating government all over again. But what most people fail to realize is that we're talking about a voluntary association. We're not talking about what a state is, which a state is being defined, and this might be another big problem, is people use state and like government interchangeably, and they kind of are. A state, though, is an entity or organization uh, that has the monopoly on the initiation of aggressive violence in a geographical area. Right. That's paraphrasing Murray Rothbard's definition. Um, it's kind of changing because he says initiation of violence, but I think that's not a complete definition. I think adding in the initiation of aggressive force is the better way of describing it, but it's essentially his definition, and I think it works perfectly. And it's what anarchists, at least people, anarchists that would be on my side, would describe the state. That would be the good definition of the state. What anarchists are talking about are just not that, right? Just not something with a monopoly on the initiation of aggressive force. Um, so that way, each person maintains their own rights to aggress on, or not to aggress on, but like to defend themselves from anybody, uh, which we don't have that now, right? If someone aggresses on you, you kind of have the right to defend yourself, depending on who and what situation, right? Like a lot of states, and I mean state as in like the United States, a lot of states have like the um, what is it, like duty to retreat before you kill somebody, things like that. Like that's enforced by state violence. And if you don't meet those exact criteria, they'll kidnap you and throw you in a cage for X amount of years, right? So I'm talking about the opposite of that. And I'm talking, and of course, you can't ever defend yourself against the state. That's absolutely unacceptable. Um, so what I'm saying is that that would not exist for an anarchist society, and almost anything else can exist as long as you don't have that, and it can still be anarchist. That's the main difference. So that's why like it can look the same. Anarchist society can look very similar to state society. The difference is that initiation of aggressive force. Go ahead and make some little skull poles so these little bitches can worship. We'll make them happy and stuff. Another little thing. Yo, flint tools. Yes. Get fucked. Sticks. Flint spears. Is there anything else before we move on to another topic? Anything else we got going on? I'm only going to give it like another 15 minutes or so. I don't want to. I don't want to stream for longer than like an hour. Like a little anarcho society is doing all right. We got 15 motherfuckers. We're building something for ourselves here. Go ahead and try and get rid of that. Mm-hmm. Alright. Nothing else. All right. Hmm. Let's see. We talked about what is it? Property rights, the NAP, uh, generally consent, which also falls under property rights. Talked about that ancoms are in fact real anarchists. However displeasurable most of them might be. I know a couple that are like, kind of alright, but yeah, most of them are obnoxious and don't actually understand the philosophy that they're espousing, nor do they actually want anarchy. Let's see. Yeah, we talked about the difficulty. and kind of explaining how an anarchist society would look, because it's not up to the person making that argument how that would look. Um, yeah, those are the real pitfalls that like I've fallen into. I mean, as recently as today. um, you know, recently as today, I was talking to someone. I was like, I was getting lost in the weeds because of course, it's always like that first, like, what's to stop me from like punching you in the face? I was like, oh my god, like fucking, And then I was like, okay, well, I'll punch you back, and then he's like, well, then I'll kill you first. It's like, oh my god, it's basically like that, third grade kind of argument you have with your friend where you're like, no, I hit you, man. No, no, I have a shield. You don't have a shield. Like that shit. It's so fucking dumb. It's such a dumb way to go about things, and it's really easy to get lost in that, right? To have like this, but it's like you're trying to explain the principle behind it, but they're just like, no, I want to just defeat you, uh, and it's not a good faith discussion. I'll say it's just not a good faith discussion when that happens. Yeah, fuck you, Wolfu. I'm gonna capture your children and enslave them, like good ANCAP. Because apparently that's something that ANCAPs believe in as well, is slavery. It's fucking stupid. If people understood the first thing I said in the stream about property rights and how you own your own body, like, obviously slavery is not okay. But nobody fucking listens. Nobody's interested in like good faith discussion for the most part. I shouldn't say nobody, but most people are not. Oh, okay, yeah, here we go. Let's talk about this, right? Because another bad faith discussion. There's always this idea um, that anarchists are okay with, um, well, they hate government, right? But they're okay with a corporation like stepping on your rights, stuff like that, right? Which is of course absurd because if they start acting like a state and violating your rights, they can be resisted the same as the state can, right? Like it makes no sense to. I mean, it makes sense if you don't know anything about anarchist ideology or anarchist philosophy. Um, so those are some of the misconceptions, I suppose. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to give it another minute or so. If there are any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them. If not, then I'll go ahead and end the stream for this week. That way, we have a good starting point for next week. And I'll come by with little some bullet points of stuff I want to bring up. But I do still want to leave time for questions and stuff. Like that's the more important thing to me because you can find anything I'm saying, you know, that's said by much smarter people than fucking I am. You can read the source material that I'm citing, right? That's what I'm just doing. I'm just regurgitating source material in a way that I think is better, or at least easier to understand. At least when I'm doing this. If I get a question, though, questions are a lot better because I can actually like thoroughly explain whatever the question is. So that's a lot better for me. So we'll see what happens next week. I don't see anything yet. We'll give it another minute. And if not, then yeah, we'll see you guys next week. I'm gonna do these every week now, for the foreseeable future. I might not always. I'm gonna play Dawn of Man all the way through. Once I'm done with that, who knows? I'll play something else. Or I actually thought of doing. Let me take a moment since we have some time here. Um, I really kind of want to do a analysis of Anatomy of the State by Murray Rothbard. Um, there are three books that I would recommend anyone read to kind of nudge give him a little nudge towards anarchy. And that would be Anatomy of the State, Murray Rothbard, No Treason by Lysander Spooner, and Democracy, The God That Failed by Hans Hermann Hoppe. You read all three of those, and if you're not at least like a minarchist by that time, then I don't know what to tell you. You lack reading comprehension. Um, because, yeah, those three books were absolutely instrumental for me. I was already a minarchist when I read them, and then after I was done, I was like, all right, that was like, it helped me cut the last strand of statism from me. I was actually able to be like, okay, yeah, the Constitution's bullshit. Government is fucking the worst evil that has ever existed on the planet, and I need to kind of start a small, a small community around me, and trying to avoid the state as much as possible. So, yeah, I would recommend those three books in that order, and in that order: Do Anatomy of the State first, No Treason, and then Democracy, the God That Failed. That's the way to go. But all right, we're gonna go ahead and stop there. We'll go ahead and down to one X. All right. Um, Thank you for joining me. The people who did. Um, I'll probably bring up that list of books again when there are actually people watching. um, and yeah, so I will see you guys tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern for the Porch Boys regular show. And then I'll be back next Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern for another episode of Dawn of Ancapistan. More of this, more of gaming, more philosophy. It's going to be fun. Uh, Make sure you get your questions in so that we can talk about it at length. That's my favorite thing to do, and I want to do a lot more of it. And hopefully, I'll get better at doing it too. Hopefully, I'll get better at actually explaining these things. Um, but yeah, so if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and check out our description. We got our Discord server, we got my Twitter, the Porch Boys Twitter. It's cool stuff down there. Make sure you check it out. And yeah, I will see you guys next week. Or tomorrow night. I'm sorry. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Peace.